Hello. I've been asked to introduce myself in the course I will be teaching, which is entitled The Making of Modern Messianic Identity. So I'll get right to it. My name is Alan Shore, and I have been a Jewish believer in the gospel for almost 50 years. As I'm sometimes fond of saying, there are some distances in life that may be measured in miles, but the distance I had to travel from my upbringing in a Jewish home in New York City and a family still deeply steeped in its Eastern European Jewish background to the point where I was finally able to place my faith in Yeshua is a distance that not only cannot be measured in miles, but not even in light years. You may know what I mean. Although I live in Washington State, I've never quite gotten New York City out of my system, nor have I wanted to, and what a happy thing it is that Chosen People Ministries, the mission with which I serve, is headquartered there, and much ministry occurs there, and on many occasions I've had the privilege to express my love for the city, its history, and especially its Jewish history, by leading walking tours for out-of-towners for our short-term mission program, Shalom, New York, around the Lower East Side of Manhattan, which was once teeming with Jewish immigrant life. And my love of New York Jewish history and my discovery of the Yiddish language that my parents spoke only when they wanted me not to understand what they were talking about came together when I embarked upon a doctoral program in the field of modern Jewish history and culture at the Center for Jewish Studies in Berkeley, California, where after 8 years of scholarship, I completed a dissertation that brought together both old and newfound loves in Jewish history, particularly in the modern era, when Jews and Christians encountered one another in ways that they never had before. But remembering my faith decision so many years ago, crossing over the threshold that separated this Jew from the Jewish Messiah would have been made much more difficult, if not impossible, were it not for the fact that the non-Jewish Christian who first shared the gospel with me did so in a way that grounded it in the salvation history, the ongoing salvation history of Jewish people, and encouraged me to think of accepting him not as a denial of my Jewish identity, but quite the opposite. And without that affirmation, I would have turned a deaf ear. And like many Jewish believers, I was both astonished and delighted to find that rather than receding into the past, my Jewish identity not only did not drop away, but grew wings and took flight. And that's the song that I've been singing for almost 50 years, half of which I have served with Chosen People Ministries, which has provided multiple opportunities for me to serve in a wide variety of ways. Why am I telling you this? It is because a Christian approach to the Jew, fashioned as an affirmation of Jewishness, would have been unheard of until not so very long ago. Yes, over the centuries, Jews had accepted the gospel over here and over there from time to time, but for the longest time, it was understood that if they did so, it was at the price of any loyalty to Jewish tradition. So what changed? This brings us to the course I'll be teaching under the auspices of CMJI, the Making of Modern Messianic Identity. And the premise of the course is that what we call Messianic identity, that is, in my understanding, at any rate, a community of Jewish believers in the gospel striving to embody a distinctly Jewish way of life, a way of worship, again, a way of life informed by Jewish tradition, was, as I already indicated, a practical impossibility in the midst of what became the dominant Christian European culture, a culture that so reviled Jews and vigorously sought to suppress them. So something changed, or more accurately, some things changed that brought about a thaw that over time made Messianic Jewish identity possible. How did this come about? Well, we're going to approach this question in three interrelated sections, all of them resting on the foundation of developments in Western Europe beginning in the 17th century that ushered in what historians term the modern era. So we're going to look at these three sections in three contexts that are like concentric circles. The first, the widest circle, is the state of play in Western Europe leading up to what is called the Enlightenment, beginning in the 18th century, and the external effect that that broader movement had on Jewish populations, which included both possibilities and pitfalls. The second section, or context, is how the European Enlightenment sparked a corresponding movement which Jewish life knows as the Haskalah, from the Hebrew word sechel, reason, intellect, wisdom. And this movement sought in various ways to engage with the wider non-Jewish world, and in so doing, encountered Christian culture in a way that had not previously been possible. It also had a profound effect upon Eastern European Jews, as this modern ideology spread eastward largely through the vehicle of the Yiddish language, which is a story in itself. The third section, or context, has to do with the Jewish discovery of a Jewish Yeshiva and how the Jewish roots of the Christian Redeemer were vigorously reclaimed, leading to a new era of Jewish evangelism that affirmed Jewish identity, even as it promoted the gospel. We'll also make some side trips along the way that I hope you will find as engrossing and enriching as I have. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you do also.